Now on CoastTV News.
Round 2 for rezoning a horse farm in Lewis, and now the Cape Henlopen School District chimes in.
A humpback whale still stranded in the Indian River Bay. MER trying to retrieve it for answers, but unsuccessful so far.
Referendum back on the table. What Indian River hopes to accomplish the second time around.
And we're about to feel hot as temperatures soar into the 80s, believe it or not. Your full forecast coming up.
This is CoastTV News at 5.
39 acres of farmland in Lewis could be one step closer to becoming businesses and apartments after tonight. Good evening. I'm Madeline Overturf.
And I'm Charlie Sakaitis. Welcome to our News at 5. We begin tonight with how development and building in Sussex County could change one horse farm.
Here's the land up for debate. The Bellmead Farm in Lewis, right along Route 24 next to Beacon Middle School. The landowners want to turn it into businesses and apartments, but to do that, they need a zoning change. Sussex County Planning and Zoning is meeting as we speak, and Coast TV News reporter Brandon Ferguson shows us this proposal is controversial.
Maddie, this is the land that has had people up in arms in Lewis. Just minutes ago at 5 p.m., the Sussex County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting started, where the Bellmead Farm is the 7th item on the agenda. Just a few weeks ago, the commission took a look at the issue, considering a zoning change from agricultural residential to a C4 planned commercial district. They didn't make a decision at the time. They decided they wanted to hear from the Cape Henlopen School District, who has 2 schools less than a half-mile away from the farm. On your screen now are the plans for what Bellmead LLC wants the land to look like if it's approved. Some locals Coast TV spoke with say planning and zoning must think about how much more traffic this will create on Route 24.
I have a friend that's a teacher that works right there at Love Creek, and it's 30 minutes for her to come out of that school to come around the corner here just because of the traffic. And you have to watch for the kids and the buses.
This meeting is ongoing right now, and the last time the Bellmead Farm was discussed on March 19th, the conversation lasted over 2 hours and 20 minutes. In Lewis, Brandon Ferguson, Coast TV News.
VDOT is estimating that once complete, Bellmead would add over 200 car trips in any hour of the week to local roads.
Developing out of the White House, President Trump has announced new reciprocal global tariffs, which he says is, quote, a declaration of economic independence, unquote. President Trump today announced tariffs of at least 10% on practically all goods coming into the United States, plus even higher rates on dozens of countries that have the highest trade deficits with the United States. Among the tariffs announced, Trump says the United States would charge a 34% tax on imports from China, a 20% tax on imports from the European Union. The new tariffs add to a sweeping series of already announced tariffs on goods such as foreign cars, which he says will go into effect at midnight. The new tariffs coming on what he called, quote, Liberation Day. They are a bid to boost U.S. manufacturing and punish other countries for what he has said are years of unfair trade practices.
It's going to be something that's going to bring a lot of wealth back to our country, tremendous wealth back to our country.
This is not Liberation Day, it's Recession Day in the United States of America. That's what the Trump tariffs are going to do.
And reciprocal tariffs are already upsetting markets at home and abroad. Canada among the nations promising to push back even harder, with the Premier of Ontario saying Canada will go tariff for tariff, dollar for dollar. The European Union president also saying the EU would prefer a more constructive solution over a trade war, but is ready to respond with a strong plan.
According to a poll from Marquette Law School, 58% of Americans say placing tariffs on imported products will hurt the U.S. economy. The same percentage also believes President Trump's policy plans will cause inflation to rise. Trump has a 46% approval rating right now, and this poll is based on more than 1,000 people questioned in February.
People gathered along the bay today to try and spot the second dead whale found on the coast in weeks. Unexpected obstacles prevented crews from being able to tow the giant creature. MER says the whale is more than a mile offshore. Crews worked for hours today to try and tow the animal to shore, but had no luck, presuming that the roughly 14-ton whale stuck on a sandbar. And Murr says getting it to shore, it's really important to perform a necropsy, which is an autopsy for animals, and to try to get answers. Collecting those tissue samples led Murr to discover the cause of death for the juvenile humpback that washed ashore just 3 weeks ago. Thurman says it was a blunt force trauma caused by a large ship.
We can't do anything to save this animal, obviously, at this point. So what we can do for it is at least try to find out what happened to it, maybe what the cause of death was. Was there illness that had taken place or human impacts that occurred? And this all goes into a larger body of knowledge about the individual animal, but also the species.
Murr says they're still currently assessing options for next steps, but if they can't tow the whale off the sandbar, it may be a situation where Mother Nature, like the next big storm, has to help move the massive animal. This brings us to our Coast TV poll this evening. We want to know what should be done to help whales.
Let's take a look at the results so far. Take a look at your screen. 71% say increase monitoring, 13% say restrict boat speed or public awareness, and 3% say fund more research.
If you haven't voted yet, you can go do that at coasttv.com, or you can use the Coast TV mobile app. Now let's take a live look into Milford as we check in with our first alert chief meteorologist, Paul Williams. Paul, what is the weather telling you?
You know what? We are about to get on this roller coaster ride. We've been on the cool side today, and then by tomorrow, this time, it's going to feel like a summer day, and we're bracing for another possible thunderstorm for Thursday night. Yeah, it's just that. It's just spring all over again. So our Tyndall casual furniture, we're seeing increasing cloud cover and 55 degrees with the winds pushing primarily out of the southeast at about 11 miles per hour. Will drop to about 49 degrees by 9 o'clock with partly to mostly cloudy skies at this point. We have breezy conditions along the beaches. That's going to be a concern for us throughout the entire area of the Delmarva Peninsula. Keeping a really close eye on what's happening here throughout the central part of the country. And I don't usually go all the way that far, but this storm has prompted multiple tornadoes, and it's going to be a big time mover because it's going to begin to stretch its way towards us. Right now, it looks like the front is going to stretch out instead of move towards us, so that'll lessen the opportunity for us to receive the worst of the storm, but we're not going to escape it totally. So for Thursday, warm and breezy, 70s and 80s will return with a chance of isolated thunderstorms late, possibly severe. Then on Friday, we're back to being mild with some sunshine and some scattered clouds and few scattered sprinkles or scattered showers. Now, coming up, we'll talk in more detail of the timing of the possibility of rain. But for right now, back to you, Maddie.
Paul, thank you. The Indian River School District is going back to referendum. This after voters rejected the March 20th proposal by 675 votes. The district says they need money for operating costs and to hire and retain teachers and programs. They're now trying again for the same referendum in June. A former employee of the district says she just can't wrap her head around why it failed the first time.
That's a hard one for me to figure because to me it just seems so right to improve the schools and not make it harder for them to be improved.
The second referendum will take place Thursday, June 5th.
After weeks of worry from staffers, massive job cuts are rolling through multiple agencies within the U.S. Health and Human Services. As Laura Aguirre explains, the method of the cuts and the amount are drawing polarizing reactions along partisan lines.
These folks have no idea what harm they're causing.
But these changes have to be made for the future of our government.
Opposing views on the seismic downsizing within agencies under the Department of Health and Human Services, a move that HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. recently called a shift to new priorities.
Especially ending the chronic disease epidemic with clean water, safe food, effective medicine, good science.
The exact number of job cuts that began Tuesday not immediately clear, but last week, Secretary Kennedy forecast that 10,000 full-time employees would be let go, on top of thousands of others who've already left, or probationary employees who are on administrative leave.
I'm so sad as not only a federal worker, but as an American. I mean, just to no heart. There's just no sense to it.
They're just taking a hatchet to various agencies. That has an enormous impact on the health and safety not only today and tomorrow, but 10 years from now.
Agencies including the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the National Institutes of Health, and the Food and Drug Administration, impacting work on HIV, injury prevention, reproductive health, minority health, smoking, violence prevention, and much more.
We have an entire Office of Head Start who they're gone. They're gone.
We have to be careful, but at the same time, we cannot continue to spend it the way that we are.
What remains will be merged into a new organization called the Administration for a Healthy America, or AHA, says Secretary Kennedy.
The entire federal workforce is downsizing now, so this will be a painful period for HHS.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Several federal agencies are giving employees another chance to resign with continued pay, but the workers don't have long to make a decision. At least 4 agencies' workers are being offered the option to resign, but be paid through the end of September. Depending on the agencies, some employees must decide by April 8th, while others have until April 18th.
Today, the U.S. Supreme Court weighing whether patients may sue states that cut Medicaid funding for Planned Parenthood. The issue stems from an executive order the South Carolina governor signed in 2018 that yanked Medicaid funding for the state's 2 Planned Parenthood clinics. The governor argued those payments amounted to a taxpayer subsidy for abortion. However, the order also blocked Planned Parenthood patients from receiving other services, such as birth control and cancer screenings. A ruling from the conservative Supreme Court is expected by the end of June. Egg prices may be falling, but we'll tell you which experts say there is a catch.
And by tomorrow afternoon, we could find ourselves easing into the 80s and watching out for a possible storm or two to come knocking on our door.
But first, proposed water bill price hikes, what people in Ocean Pines are doing to address it. That's up next.
This is Coast TV News at 5.
Worcester County is looking to its taxpayers to help pay for water and wastewater funds.
The county is facing an $8.5 million deficit, and a majority of county commissioners have proposed an across-the-board increase of $32 per quarter.
But people in Ocean Pines say this isn't fair, saying they only caused 5% of the debt and should only be paying an extra $3 per quarter.
One of the Worcester County commissioners against this proposal says Ocean Pines is doing everything they can to say no before it's too late.
They are sending letters to the commissioners. They are ensuring that people within the community know the unfairness of this plan put forward. So the more engagement, the more information that is out there, the better off we will be as a community.
Along with reaching out, Ocean Pines hosting a meeting April 23rd. Worcester County's budget hearing, it's May 6th.
Here's a look at your Bay forecast. A bit of breezy on the side for Thursday and 79 degrees with a chance of late showers and thunderstorms. Cloudy and 70 on Friday and another round of rain on Saturday. Let's talk about that rain when we come back. Because it's going to be so warm tomorrow, we're going to do the same thing that we talked about previously. We're watching out for a chance of rain during the evening hours. Now remember, if it's cloudy during the day, chances are it's just going to be rain. But if it's clear all day tomorrow, we're going to have some issues for tomorrow night. So let's just see how that works out, okay? Our tunnel razor camera in Lewis, we're at 52 degrees with thick cloud cover in place right now. We'll drop to 49 degrees, partly cloudy skies, 9 o'clock. In the 50s, that's where we are right now. 51 in Milton, 52 Del Mar, 57 degrees currently in Seaford. Winds right now pushing out of the southeast. We have 22 mile per hour wind gusts being measured in Millsboro, a 17 mile per hour wind gust, for example, in Redden. And we do have a small craft advisory active from Lewis, Dewey Beach down towards Ocean View and Bayview Park. Watching out for 25 mile per hour winds there, but also for Ocean City all the way down towards Chincoteague, and it looks like we have that same concern throughout most of the entire Delmarva Peninsula. Keeping a close eye on this line of storms, because this is what's going to be leaning in our direction. But instead of this front moving towards us, it'll be easier to kind of predict what's going to happen to it. But it's stretching like a rubber band instead of moving. And the long-range models indicate it's kind of snaps and breaks up instead of move directly over to us. That's not necessarily a bad thing for us particularly, because that means we'll avoid the brunt of the storms. I got to wait and see if that really pans out to that degree, and I'll show you my evidence for that in a moment. Cloudy for tonight, winds out of the south, temperatures near the 60-degree mark. Warm front's going to be on the move in. That's going to set the stage. We'll have warm and windy and possibly stormy conditions for Thursday night, and then temps all over the place going into the weekend. Unsettled and just wacko, so to speak. Okay, so 80 for Georgetown and Millsboro for tomorrow, but very breezy. Warming to 77 in Cambridge with winds out of the south-southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. And watch out for 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts and 71 for the high in Ocean City. Now, the winds pushing out of the south for Thursday, 41-mile-per-hour wind gusts and 39-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Since we're not seeing any rain associated with this, we're not going to a yellow alert for this one, at least not at this point. Then the shift dramatically out of the northeast by Friday in the evening time. Our temperature trend will bounce down to the 70s Friday, Saturday, back to 80 on Sunday, and then look at this drop. Watch this. From Sunday to Monday, 56, from 80 down to 56. And Sunday to Monday, that's when I'm watching out for the real storm to show up. But we do have at least marginal storm risk, okay? For Thursday night, after the sun goes down for us. But the models, like that stretching out rubber band thing I was telling you, see, here's where we are Thursday morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. And then in the afternoon, 78 degrees, we're warm, but we have pockets of sunshine, not completely. So it gets blotchy with the green. So it doesn't really kick in for us, even though our chances of rain are a little bit elevated for Thursday, but more so Sunday going into Monday. That's why I'm really watching out for that. So here's Sunday afternoon. It pushes through. Monday in the early morning hours, we see a more steady frontal boundary that's going to slide through that's more dependable and more classic. And as that pushes through, then we're going to watch out for volatile weather. And then we're looking at the next 6 to 10 days. Temperatures a little bit below the norm. Crazy temperatures bouncing around and around we go. Here's a look at your extended forecast. Believe it or not, and by next Tuesday going to Wednesday, we're going to be back to below freezing, guys. Sorry about that.
Okay, Paul. Coming up tonight on the Delmarva Sports Network at 5:30, it's girls lacrosse. Stephen Decatur visits North Carolina. Then at 10:30, tune into the final score. Over on the DSN Plus app at 5:30, Saints Peter and Paul travels to Cape Henlopen for boys soccer. Also at 5:30, Cape Henlopen girls lacrosse at Sussex Academy.
We salute Brigadier General James A. Benson. Brigadier General James A. Benson serves as the Assistant Adjutant General of the Delaware Army National Guard, a role he assumed in June 2023. Since beginning his military career in 1992, General Benson has held various leadership positions and received extensive military education, including a Master of Strategic Studies from the Army War College. He has been recognized for his service with multiple commendations, such as the Bronze Star during deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan. His leadership significantly enhances the operational readiness and effectiveness of the Delaware Army National Guard.
Spicer Brothers and CoastTV are honoring military persons and first responders serving Delmarva. If you have a family member, friend, or community member that you would like to nominate for a CoastTV salute, go to coasttvsalutes.com.
Egg prices might finally be giving shoppers a break. According to the Agricultural Department, wholesale eggs dropped to $3 per dozen, a 9% decline from the prior week. The American Farm Bureau says the lower costs come from noticeably fewer bird flu cases. Another factor, consumers have been buying less eggs, which has helped stores restock. But eggs remain historically high, near 59% more expensive than they were this time last year.
Tesla sales plunged 13% in the first quarter of this year. Tesla reported it delivered 50,000 less vehicles in the quarter compared to the first 3 months of last year. That's the biggest decline in the company's history. Backlash against Tesla CEO Elon Musk and growing competition in the EV market have taken a large bite out of demand for Teslas.
New tonight, Inside Edition anchor Deborah Norville announcing her departure from the show after 30 years. According to Inside Edition, Norville will be moving on at the end of the season.
One more look now outside into Cambridge as we check in with our forecast right after this.
Coming up new on Coast TV News at 6, Beach Patrol update the progress on the new HQ when Rehoboth says it's going to be open.
Take a look at our forecast. First of our umbrella giveaway winner, Janet Laws of Georgetown. Congratulations, courtesy of Paul Davis Restoration Home Remodeling. Now, also, you can keep up with your forecast by calling our weather line. It's 443-880-9100. Your forecast is just a call away. Sponsored by the law offices of Brockstead, Mandales, and Federico. And finally, here's a look at your exclusive 10-day forecast. Now, we're ping-ponging all over the place. Breezy during the day for Thursday. Thursday night, watching out for a thunderstorm or two. We'll drop to 70 and cloudy skies on Friday. Back up to 80 on Sunday. Then we drop dramatically Yeah, down to 56 for the high, and then we go to freezing Tuesday going into Wednesday morning.
All right, Paul, thank you, and thanks for joining us here for Coast TV News at 5.
For more news and local weather, download our Coast TV News app.
Inside Edition is up next.
And we'll see you later tonight for Coast TV News at 6. Have a great evening.